Jason has finally run out of money. For many months, he's gotten close to losing it all, but he's always managed to find a way to hang in there. But after a rough turn of events in his latest set of sports bets, he's now running on empty. Jason is frustrated. So frustrated, in fact, that he can't bear to go out on a loss and quit. He calls up his friends and he asks them if they can lend him some money for expenses. What they don't know is that Jason has created a master plan that's going to end with him winning big in the casino, using the money that his friends lent him. We'll find out how that went a little bit later on. Leo. Leo can remember days in his past where he did the exact same thing that Jason just did. He used to tell his friends all types of things to get them to lend him money so that he could try to chase his losses and stay in action. Leo also remembers how he destroyed the trust of those friends, increased his stress levels, and eventually ended up in a worse financial situation by doing so. He doesn't want to go back to those days. Now, he focuses on his work, and he gives himself the chance to build wealth instead of burning it. Today, we're delving into a question that might hit close to home for some of us: borrowing money or taking out loans to continue to gamble. It's a topic that many people shy away from, but it's crucial to address the financial and emotional dangers associated with doing this. Let's get straight to the point. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you had or wanted to borrow money to feed your gambling cravings? It's a tough question, and it's okay if you have. We're here to talk about the impact this can have on your life, not to judge you. First and foremost, let's talk about the financial dangers. Gambling is risky business in itself, and when you add borrowed money to the mix, it's a recipe for disaster. Whether it's loans from friends, family, or financial institutions, debts can quickly spiral out of control. The interest rates on loans can be astronomical, leaving you in a deep financial hole that's often really hard to climb out of. Jason's master plan didn't go exactly as he had hoped. He had ended up losing all the money he had borrowed from his friends. Now, in a last-ditch effort to pay them back and recoup his losses, Jason is taking a 35% APR cash advance on a credit card to go all in on tonight's NFL game. We'll come back and see how he's doing later on. Leo knows that gambling is a risk in itself. If you were to add the risk of facing cash advance fees and interest rates, it would be even more dangerous. After years of riding that wave of adrenaline and thrill, Leo knows that it always ends the same. It ends with him borrowing money to pay off debts of money that he borrowed before to continue to gamble. After a year clean, he's finally paid off his debts from doing that, and he doesn't plan on creating any more. Now, before we dive into the emotional toll that borrowing money at a gamble can take on someone, let me pause real quick and tell you who I am. My name is Rob, and I'm a recovering compulsive gambler. I made my last bet on November the 12th of 2022, and now it's become my mission to educate my audience, you guys, on the dangers of gambling addiction and ways to get help if you decide that you do want to quit gambling. If you're tired of losing money to the casino, smash that subscribe button and become better informed on the reality of gambling. Now, as mentioned, let's shift gears and let's discuss the emotional toll that borrowing money to gamble can take on us. The highs and lows of gambling can already be pretty emotionally draining, but throw in the burden of debt and it's a whole different ballgame. The stress, guilt, and anxiety that come with owing money can have severe consequences on your mental well-being. And it's not just about the dollars and cents. It's about the toll it takes on your peace of mind. You may even feel like you can't be seen with friends or active on social media because you don't want to further anger someone that you owe money to that might be your friend or might be following you on socials. It creates a high level of negative thinking and puts you into a really bad headspace. Jason is stressed. He's about to find out whether or not his last resort bet is going to pay off. Things could go either way, it seems, but he's on an emotional roller coaster. The stress, anxiety, frustration, and anger have taken over him, and he doesn't even realize that he has 14 missed calls from family and friends who haven't heard from him in days. It's all going to come down to this last play. We'll come back to that shortly. Leo is stress-free. He doesn't owe anyone money, and he's been able to look in the mirror at the end of every day and be proud of himself for his accomplishments. They're not always huge, but he's always moving forward. There's days where he will experience stress and anxiety still, but it doesn't come anywhere close to comparing to what he used to feel when he was gambling. Rather than being on the edge of his seat late at night like Jason is right now, Leo is getting ready to sleep because he has a cardio session early tomorrow morning with his friends. The impact of borrowing money for gambling goes far beyond your own financial and emotional state. It ripples through all of your relationships with friends and family. Trust is easily eroded, and those close to you may feel betrayed or hurt by your actions when you're lying to them to get money to gamble. The strain on relationships can be irreparable sometimes, and the consequences could be felt for years. Jason didn't end up winning his last-ditch bet, and now he owes 8 friends money as well as the credit card company. He thinks about his options. He could just come clean to everyone and start to rebuild, or he could isolate himself and take out a payday loan at 400%. That does sound like a pretty risky loan, but hey, Jason's a risk taker, and he's going to go big on this World Series game to win it all back at once. We'll come back to him in just a little bit. Leo can remember the feeling of guilt that he would have when he lied to his friends and family about where that money would be going. He never wants to feel like that again. After paying everyone back, he's made it a point in his life not to lie to those around him anymore. Because with a clear conscience, he's been able to improve his friendships, and he's finally starting to have what he's always considered to be a very elusive thing: peace of mind. To make this discussion a little bit more human, let's take a look at my story of borrowing money to gamble. When it comes to my story, I borrowed money from a lot of friends and a lot of family, and I would tell them things like, I need this to cover my rent payment, or I need this to cover bills because I've overspent in a different category. Or, hey man, let me borrow this so that I can give it back to you tomorrow and I'll give you 10% interest. There was all kinds of different little lies along the way that I told my friends and family so that I could get a couple $100s here or there. And what happened over time was that no one wanted to give me any more money. And then I would get frustrated and get mad at them when they didn't give it to me, which, looking back, was pretty ridiculous. But hey, I was in the middle of a gambling addiction, and I was active in my addiction, and I was angry that I couldn't get more fuel to stay in action. So one learning lesson that I can take away is you're putting your relationships and your friendships at risk every single time you ask for something. So there better be a good reason for you actually needing the help, because if they find out that it's for gambling, you can expect a decrease in the quality of your relationships. There were some friends along the way that I no longer speak to, and whether it's a direct result of that, I'm not quite sure, but at the same time, it sure didn't help my chances of keeping friends and keeping family happy by asking for things over and over again. So, directly to anyone that's ever lent me money, thank you, and I'm sorry. Now let's get back to the story. Now that we've discussed the dangers, it's essential to talk about recovery and support. If you find yourself in this situation that we've been talking about in this video, seeking professional help is absolutely crucial. There's support groups, counseling services, and financial advisors who specialize in dealing with gambling-related issues. And remember, it's never too late to take control of your situation and seek the help that you need. In fact, today's the very best day to get started. Jason has hit rock bottom after failing to pay off his debts and being found out by his friends and family that he was deceiving. However, just when things look like they are at their absolute worst, he finds some hope. While swiping through his social media feed, he sees a video about gambling addiction recovery and where to find resources, and that video was made by none other than our friend Leo. Jason decides that it's time to make a change in his life. He sends Leo a message, and Leo actually responds and invites him to attend his support group meeting session that night. For the first time in a long time, Jason is feeling hopeful that things can get better without needing to risk them getting worse. That wraps up our discussion on the dangers of borrowing money for gambling. It's a pretty tough topic, but it's one that needs to be addressed openly and honestly. If you or someone you know answered this question yes, and you're struggling with a gambling issue, please reach out for help. Remember, there's always hope, and taking the first step towards recovery is a sign of strength and not a sign of weakness. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone who might benefit from what we just watched. You saw that Jason was able to take the first step towards a happier and healthier life. If he can do it, so can you. Let's all try to be more like Leo, and that happens one day at a time.